As a young girl, Aurora Passero would follow her mother around on film sets in Norway, watching the detail and focus her mother would invest in the costumes. Velvets, wool, silk, nylon were all fabrics Aurora used to love running her hands over to feel the different textures. She would go to folk festivals with her mother and brother to see the elaborate tailored costumes made of wool and linen, detailed with embroidery, ribbons and jewellery. Now Aurora is taking her young family on art residencies, immersing them in a very different world that yearns for connection with her father's homeland in Sicily. I'm Sarah Rhodes, speaking with Aurora Passero from her studio in Oslo, Norway, in this episode of Art Destination Sicily, where we talk about her residency at SARP on Mount Etna. Welcome, Aurora, to Art Destinations. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, your name, you have it's French, probably Aurora, is it?
It's kind of an international name, I think, Aurora.
The Aurora Borealis, does it mean light?
Yeah. And it's also the name of the Greek goddess for morning, like sunrise.
And then your surname is Passero, which is Italian. Yeah. What's your link with Italy?
My father came from Sicily, actually, from Messina. And so I'm half Italian. He came to Norway in the early 60s. He was studying architecture. He became an architect. And then he met my mother in Norway. And the story is that he fell in love with the nature there and the light. So he stayed and, settled down. And lived there for, over 20, 30 years. And,
So does that mean that you have always gone to Sicily in your childhood to visit?
Yes. When we were kids, my father passed away when I was 9. So, and then my family, or my grandparents, they passed away quite early or after that. And then my close family moved more north to Rome and Bari. So then we visited Italy, but not so often Sicily. When I was a kid, yes. So, and then we went to Messina and we stayed at my grandparents' house. And so I have these early memories of, these romantic memories of going in the mountains and collecting lemons and, visiting family there. And so actually, I was in a group show in Syracuse last year. And that was my first time back to the island. And then now we stayed for, 3 weeks. That was very special, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so you took your children there?
Yeah, I brought my whole family. So 2 children and my husband. And he's also an artist, so we have the same way of, living. And the kids, they have to come along.
What sort of artist is your husband? What does he do?
He makes sculptures or drawing, painting, but recently ceramic sculptures. His mother, she's a ceramic artist also. And I think we share a lot. Also how we travel or how travel influence our work and how we look at things. We always, we're kind of two-headed. We can discuss everything immediately. It's a luxury, actually. Yeah, sharing this together.
So the residency in Lingua Glossa at Alfio's SARP, you were there with a job to do. I mean, your husband was coming with your children and you were making it a family holiday, but essentially there was a lot of pressure for you to perform because you had an exhibition at the end of it. So how do you negotiate that? And what did you do with the children?
Good question. No, I think I had brought with me some finished pieces. So I had this skeleton, or the frame in a way. And And I also asked the gallery to send me photos of the space earlier on with measures, and because that's important for how I put up my work and, working with the architecture and the space. And then, because there was a limit of time, 3 weeks, and I was also supposed to collect wool and make new works there. So I had brought with me pieces. I only had these few equipments with me. I had a small loom, and I get this openness, I think, because you at home. I have all this interruptions or a lot of material. I'm weaving, so I have, a big loom. Everything is here. When I travel, I have to limit all these things. And with that, it also comes an openness. Like in the daytime, I had like meetings and some things I had to do. But then we were traveling or taking like small trips daytime, and I was working at night more, like weaving at night. And, for collecting materials, we went to Mercato Bianco to collect wool. They came along and we were driving around, and that was very nice. And we've been doing it before, so they are used to it. They're not maybe so interested in looking at art. We also went to Palermo, and we visited, a lot of churches and museums. And then you have to do this balance. So you have to buy like a lot of ice cream or toys at the market. You have to do this to negotiate a bit, but it works out.
So I saw the pictures of the exhibition on the SARP Instagram page, and the works are very beautiful. They're sort of these lovely colours that almost like abstract paintings and how you've made them, but then the top is woven, but then you've got the strings dangling. The materiality of the work is obviously really important. It's about the textures and the feeling. So what are you trying to communicate with that?
I think they're a result of a lot of different influences and references, and I've also been very interested in different tensions or contradictions. I started to work with the nylon material when I was still studying. And at the time, I was, and I still am, very interested in what the different materials could tell me. So I was working with concrete, plaster, pigments, nylon. And because I really like to work with handcraft or using my hands, I continued with the nylon because it had a lot of qualities that I was looking for. It gets almost metallic, and it takes up color very well. Working with textile, it was so connected to tradition, and in a way I wanted to break with that. And it was very liberating for me. It's plastic, so I could take this very unromantic material and turn it out to something valuable or something like something different, I think. And by weaving, I could plan how big I wanted the canvases or the tapestries. So measures became also a very interesting thing to work with, also in with the architecture. And I could combine painting, sculpture, space, and still work very with like site specific or with I don't know. It's also, I don't know. I really like that. The material is so synthetic, but then it turns out also very organic.
I think that's interesting, talking about how materials communicate differently. I know even with a camera, every different camera will have a different feeling and will communicate different ideas. A snapshot camera, a large format camera, they all express ideas differently. I can definitely see how nylon would have a different feeling to, cashmere silk or wool. Or so in your exhibition in Lingua Glossa, know you're working with local wool. Were you working with nylon as well?
The previous work that I brought with me, they were nylon pieces or tapestries in nylon. And that was also because the space it's an old factory, or the space was used to dry hazelnuts. It's a beautiful space. And you have the ceiling is just, it's not glass, but it's plastic, like you can see through. So the light is very special. And then the walls was of this, I think, concrete. Everything was very raw. And nothing was hidden. You can see all the wood structures in the roof. And I've been wanting to work with concrete, with the nylon pieces, because I think how the materials affect each other is very interesting. So I knew when I chose this collection of work that it would be interesting in this space. Coming back to keeping this openness, to enter a space and then take the space in and then start to install and then see like, okay, I need like element here. And then I knew that I needed another one. So I was first making one wool sculpture or piece. And they were quite, they were very like easily made, but it took time. So I made them like at night and then I was hanging it up. And then I knew immediately that I needed another one. I have been working like that many times. And I think working with like close to deadlines, it also adds a focus, because you get like this hyper focus into the environment. And I think I need this pressure. Of course, it can be stressful, but I really like to be in this state of mind also.
When did you discover that you loved textiles? Were you sewing as a young girl?
My grandmother, my Norwegian grandmother, she was making all the clothes to the family for her children, my mother. And that was, she was born in the 1920s. And they learned to, keep everything, use all the materials. And then my mom, she was born after the war, and she was also learned into this. And she's always been interested in sewing and later working as a costume designer. So I think both with my grandmother and my mother, I learned how, to sew and to knit, crochet. And I was very interested in clothing as a kid, for my toys, but also for me. And I remember also with my friends, always, I don't know, we were playing all these games like acting and going into different characters. Then we were also like making things, making costumes. And so, yes, I guess so. And textiles, it's always been a material that's been, part of my childhood. I think it's been, of course, like a huge influence on my work later on. And as a kid, you don't reflect on it that way as you do as a grown up. But of course, it has been a big influence on me. Also, my mom, like, dyeing costumes in our bathroom. You know, it was always things going on. And she had to work from home as well because we were kids. And she was, taking care of us as well. So I think I think that's been very, very important for me. Yeah. And also to find solutions. It's always about finding solutions quick. Again, coming back to this pressure or this working with deadlines. And I think you have, as an artist, you have to like this state of mind, though. Yeah. So I learned that.
Okay, I think I really enjoyed that, and I really liked listening to how important process was to you. And I also really enjoyed thinking about the different ways materials can communicate stories without the stories driving the ideas, but that the process and the materials drive the ideas or drive the work, and then they kind of tell you what the ideas are. I think that's a really nice way of working. It's very genuine and honest.
Thank you. It's that's how I'm working, and it's about trust and freedom, to keep this freedom in my work and in my artwork. It's important.
Just a quick question: if you apply for a funding or if you apply for a project, how would you frame that if the idea itself is not driving the project, it's the way of working?
Maybe the idea is then it's about the space, that I have to describe the space and how I see how the work will affect the space or turn out in the space, or how the materials will work together, or it's again, it's many layers. How the topography or the new environment will affect the work. That drives the work a lot, I think, for me. And then the materiality comes after. But also then I have to describe the different tensions that I'm looking for, or that I'm interested in to go deeper into. And also for this show specifically, also to work so directly with the material coming from the island. I think that was a very good experience for me. And something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I think it's just like a slowly process. Like I'm taking in I add new layers into my universe in a way. And some comes quicker and some comes, like slowly.
Another question. Staging's are really important for you. Like the exhibition itself is very important, and you're making works for the space rather than making individual works and then showing them in any space. And if your mother was a costume designer, so you would have seen theatre, or you would have gone or to film, or you would have, staging was an important part of her work as well. So do you feel as though, one thing is to be inspired by your mother's costume design and the textiles, but maybe also how those costumes were staged or used, and also the other part, which I think is interesting, is the atmosphere. So the work that you're showing, the materials themselves are not directly telling stories. They're really creating atmospherics. Like you're kind of communicating by appealing to the senses rather than through any narratives. The only narrative you're relying on is the title, and you're not being direct with that. So I guess we're just returning to the beginning when you were talking about your mother, but I find that quite interesting that there's such a strong parallel between both of your works.
Yeah, it is, and important. But I think also that my work, because they are not only staged, because immediately when they are out in the space, they become it's a physical part of the space, and the audience have to but they have to relate on them. So it's atmosphere, but they also get activated.
But atmosphere is really a conversation. Like atmosphere is it's a conduit between a person and the place. Like the atmosphere is the dialogue, the silent.
And then again, that's also narrative, or you can get the narrative out from it. So it goes in many directions, which I like. Yeah.
Okay, well that was really lovely. Thank you so much, Aurora.
Thank you so much. Very nice to talk to you. Yeah, hopefully I haven't been mixing up all my English.
No, and we'll have to look at doing a season in Norway. We just have to find an island that would be really interesting to explore, and there would be some artists living there or working there.
Absolutely. There's many different communities in Norway.
You have been listening to Art Destinations, fortnightly conversations with artists and thinkers living and or working on islands to see how these unique places shape imaginations. This season has taken us to Sicily, following on from our journeys through Lucerita, Tasmania and Venice. Art Destinations is co-produced with SARP gallery director Alfio Puglisi. This is the second last episode in the Sicily series. We will publish a wrap-up and then start recording our Cuba season. Keep updated by subscribing to our newsletter at artdestinations.org. I'm Sarah Rhodes. Ciao for now.